viewers, thanks for watching Parties Extra, brought to you by Party Galaxy. Our guest today is Hilarie Blaney. She is Senior Vice President of Banc First. She is also a corporate etiquette consultant, business image consultant, U.S. protocol consultant, and international protocol consultant. She is also a guest answerer for 2040-60 etiquette for the Oklahoman. Welcome, Hilarie.
Thank you, Helen, for having me today.
You have been an etiquette expert in several categories. So tell us how you got interested in the etiquette area since you've had this amazing banking career for 34 years.
We all know banking is very professional.
Yes.
We have to dress professionally, we have to act professionally, and most importantly, people have to trust us. And manners and trust, or etiquette and trust, have a lot to do with each other. I noticed in many civic events and business meals that there were some table manners maybe that had not been brushed upon, and brought this to my group of girlfriends and said, no one's doing this in the area, do you think I should? I've always been interested in it, always been interested in the political side. I've worked in Washington and decided that I would go to the Protocol School of Washington.
Oh my gosh, and that's a big deal. It's a big training course.
It is, and I've been 3 times, and it's the only accredited school in the nation. We are 23 years old. We've had 3,500 graduates from 58 countries.
And are there people in Oklahoma City besides you that are accredited from this school?
Yes, we have a government, State Department protocol officer, and then we have an independent trainer, consultant, just like I am in Tulsa.
And our friend Ann Hoover, late Ann Hoover, was a certified etiquette expert.
She was also a graduate of the Protocol School of Washington.
Yes, well, that's awesome. Well, we need to know how to introduce people. We need to know these things, and you teach classes in this.
Yes.
Okay, so what are some of your classes?
I teach corporate executives. I teach sales training teams. I teach families. That's been a really fun part of what I do. I had a group of fathers and sons.
Oh, you did?
Yes, a month ago, and really enjoyed that. I teach in just individuals.
Bride and grooms.
Bride and groom. I've taught in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
For Dan Boren has had me there 2 times to teach all the Oklahoma delegation summer interns.
And you teach them how to handshake? Tell us about the handshake.
Well, the handshake says everything about your personality. And there are several
Women
kinds.
too?
Yes, there are several kinds of handshakes. One would be a very quick, fake, political type handshake. Another handshake, which women really can associate with this, is when we get the fingertip handshake. And I think that's more along the lines of when men are a little afraid that they're going to squeeze our hands too hard or that we're too dainty for them. And women now have been working long enough that we can give the firm handshake. So there are really several different kinds of handshakes. The fatherly handshake is one too. And being a woman in business and a woman early on in business, most of my clients were men. They would give me the fatherly handshake because they were older than I am.
Well, and you had a little story about how the handshake started, so tell us that.
Well, one of the intriguing things to me has been the history of why we do some of the things we do, and the handshake is one. And in the olden days, people met each other in the woods and on horseback, and you couldn't always trust the person that you didn't know when you came upon them. And one would stick their hand out to shake your hand, signaling that they did not have a dagger up their sleeve.
That's pretty good. That's a good way to know. Well, and so you know about other countries too. International protocol means that you know the protocol for or what you're supposed to do when you visit another country. Is that correct? Do you teach classes in that?
Yes, I do. I just had a group of executives that not only took the corporate executive training, with me, but they were traveling to China and having Chinese business people here to visit. One of the things that we trained on is what the table manners are in China, which are completely different than they are in America. But our business meetings are different. Theirs are more formal. The seating is a very formal situation, where here ours are more casual, but our table manners are more formal. One of the other things is I train them on what kind of gifts to give to their visitors, and there is certain protocol regarding what color you wrap the paper.
Oh my goodness!
How many items you give, the number of items that you give. So it's really important in our global economy now that we are aware of the customs and the protocol in other countries, such as bowing and shaking hands at the same time, or touching the Queen. So,
and you know all that.
Yes.
That's very, very important. Well, in the U.S., our manners, have they gone by the wayside, or are we reviving them, or what's happening?
Well, the etiquette business is booming right now. But I really think overall we have gotten so casual, and you can trace it back in clothing, casual clothing, to the 90s when the technology boom hit and people started working from home and they didn't have to dress up as much. Now, in the banking world, it hasn't changed for me in 34 years. We're still wearing suits to work every day. But because of technology, we really have had major changes in the etiquette business. Emily Post's 18th edition was just released last October, and we've had to address issues such as, are we showing tattoos at work? Are we emailing thank you notes? Can we talk on the cell phone in the doctor's office and let everyone hear it, or on the cell phone in an elevator? So we've really become a society that is not aware of what's going on around us, because I think we're multitasking and not paying attention to the fact that someone might be walking behind us through a door with their arms full, and we're on our cell phone, so we push through the door and let the door slam in the person's face.
So what is the answer? Should we show our tattoos at work?
No. Well, let's see, it depends on maybe if you work at a tattoo parlor. But the answer is, I think, just to keep this top of mind. I have lots and lots of requests from employers to come talk to people. The generational situation is
well, and you said that
important.
5 generations are working together. That's the first time ever.
Yes.
And so I think that makes a big difference, because the older people have their way. How does that all work?
Well, the expectation is that baby boomers are going to work longer, and the expectation then will be that we are requiring the manners and the table manners of the people that we hire.
And most people, if you're interviewing for a job, they are aware and know what they're looking for in a hire, I think. Is that correct?
Yes, and employers are, so your soft skills are very important. Grades can't get you by alone anymore, because you could have 20 resumes that all had straight A's, and what employers are doing now is taking you to a meal. And in some cases, when you get to the last cut for the position, they'll take your spouse too. So your spouse's manners are very important too.
Well, that's very amazing. So where do you travel? Do you teach in different places? Do you have a place that you teach, or what do you do?
Well, I've taught in people's homes. I've taught in a room at the country club. I've taught on company premises where they've had lunch catered in. Tuesday, I had a training at the Beacon Club. I do travel some. I have traveled to Washington, D.C., as I said, for Congressman Boren and taught there. But really, there's enough here in Oklahoma, believe it or not.
And I thought it was interesting that when Laura Bush was here, you were involved in the table seating.
Yes, yes.
So that is a big deal.
That was a thrill to get to meet her, and she actually said, I didn't think people cared about this anymore, about protocol. But there is an order, and that protocol is very, very important to people that understand it and that live with it. And so the seating for her table was
right.
an interesting, yes, and
it's
a puzzle, and it's very intriguing to me.
And how about the inauguration for Mary Fallon?
I was on the inauguration committee and helped proof the script and make sure that all the judges were in order and all the elected officials were in order of precedence.
And you know all that. Well, is it important that who speaks first in the government sector?
It is. And who's announced first, who's introduced first. And some of the interesting things we talked about with the president. The president is not to be called President Obama in his presence.
Is that right? Why is that?
The president should not be called his name in his presence. He is to be called Mr. President.
Always?
Yes. And we can thank George Washington for that.
And you brought his little book.
I did. I did. George Washington published 110 Rules of Civility and Decent Behavior in Company and Conversation when he was 14 years old.
And Mr. President was one of them.
And he asked to be called Mr. President. He was
given
given lots of options, but that's what he chose.
Think how that has been passed down.
Yes.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you also have, you're on social media yourself. You have a Facebook page, you're on Twitter, you have a blog. So
Yes.
tell us about them.
Well, you did let me know that my blog's a little behind schedule. And I grew up in the newspaper business, but I had never written before. I'd inserted and proofread.
You are good at
but
writing.
I had
you
really
are very good at writing.
Well, thank you. I'd never really had the opportunity to do that, and your editor and my friend Kelly Dyer gave me the chance to do that, and it's been very rewarding. I have a hard time writing my advice. I don't have a hard time verbalizing my advice, but I do like to find things to write about that aren't so controversial, but that are more educational.
Well, you Twitter all the time.
Yes.
You're always saying something.
Yes.
Tell me what to do. I think I'll do it too.
Thank you.
Really good.
This week should be spit your gum out. That's been the thing that I've been harping on this week.
I have seen people appear on television with their gum.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's very interesting.
Yes.
What about, what's the name of your blog?
Manners of Fact.
Manners of Fact. That's darling. That's really, really good. And your Facebook page, I mean, can
Same.
anybody get on there? Or so everybody's there.
Yes.
Well, next week you'll be modeling at the Ladies in the News,
Yes.
Junior Hospitality, is that it?
Yes.
And so you're honored there, and you were also chosen as Pi Beta Phi National Member of the Year. So congratulations on
Thank
those
you.
honors. You get quite a few, and these are very, very important.
Thank you.
I think. So anything you want to say on those?
Thank you. No, I'm honored.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
great. Congratulations.
Thank
Okay. Anything else about manners that we missed? Manners, etiquette, or protocol?
Well, I think people confuse those words a lot.
Uh-huh.
Etiquette really is a set of rules, social rules,
Yes.
for us to abide by that help us meet other people's expectations, help us be comfortable in all situations. When I teach a class, I want my student to be able to eat at the White House or at Arby's.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same everywhere, whether or not you're at home or at the White House. And protocol is more military in rank and order, seating, introductions, invitations.
And your dad was in the military, so
yes,
that
my dad's retired general. And
great interest there.
that was one of the reasons that I was intrigued with the protocol side of this.
Well, you've lived all over the world, probably.
We have.
Mm-hmm.
And then manners, you hear civility a lot, especially in George Washington's book. People confuse these courtesy, manner, civility really are about the same thing. And that would be holding a door open for someone that was walking through with their hands full. And just really being aware of people around you and what they might need and how you could help people.
Well, what a nice person you are. I mean, those are really nice things.
Thank you.
And that is civil.
Yes.
I mean, those things are very civil.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming by to talk about etiquette, protocol, and manners. It really helps all of us to continue learning the importance of good impressions and how to communicate. Plus, remembering that the dress codes are very important.
Yes.
Thanks again.
Thank you.